Hi friends, if you are a UPSC Civil Services aspirant preparing for the personality test at UPSC, this thought would have definitely crossed your mind many times. How should I take a proper stand before the interview board? What actually is taking a stand? How should I develop the skill of taking a stand before the UPSC's interview board? These questions would have been lingering in your mind for a long time. Some of your friends would have advised you and given you inputs. You would have taken many inputs from the internet. The panel members in the mock interviews which you attended would have given you some inputs. But still, many candidates are confused about the so called stand taking. In fact, this concept has been greatly misunderstood by majority of the candidates. Many candidates are thinking that stand taking means giving an answer which is in the nature of an expert opinion or a judgmental view or a highly assertive view or even an extreme viewpoint before the interview board to impress the interview board. No, this is not called stand taking. Many candidates will give an answer thinking that they are answering like an expert. But if you look at the answer, they would have answered without having proper holistic knowledge about a particular subject area or topic. In simple words, they would have given an answer with half-baked knowledge. Okay, now what really is called stand taking? The interview that you are going to attend at UPSC is actually called personality test. They are going to check your personality. This is the duty of UPSC's interview board. Some questions in the interview may be fact-based. Even if you are not able to answer these questions, it doesn't matter. You can simply say, I do not know. Or you can say that you are not aware of it. The UPSC board will still provide you the same score. If you are answering questions that are intended to gauge your personality, there are certain important traits in our personality that the UPSC expects from you. These are the important ones: honesty, truthfulness, balanced thinking, intellectual integrity, rationality, pan-Indian thinking, broad mindedness, taking leadership, thinking positively, optimistic mindset, empathizing with vulnerable sections, and so on. So, if you have these personality traits, then you have great chances of scoring higher in the UPSC interview. Apart from this, UPSC also checks your mental alertness and mental caliber. Many students will not even understand the questions properly. They will miss out on understanding the perspective of the question. So many of the candidates, they lack the basic attribute which is mental alertness. So you should be careful in all these areas. Your knowledge has already been tested through prelims and mains. So UPSC is going to test your personality only. But another aspect is associated with personality. What is this? It is called wisdom. What is wisdom? You have to use your existing knowledge to develop a broader perspective on many issues, areas, and subject. You have to generate different viewpoints. You have to develop your analytical thinking, critical thinking. You should develop the skill of taking a balanced viewpoint, balanced solutions, taking into account positives and negatives. Answer in a intellectual and sensible manner. This is called wisdom. So far you would have been in knowledge mode. When you come to interview, you should enter wisdom mode. Keep in mind, ensure that your answers are practical and applied in nature. Don't give theoretical bookish answers before the interview board. Understand the perspective of the question. Only if you understand the perspective of the question, you can also answer in the correct perspective. The actual words that come out of your mouth are not important. What perspective you are answering is more important. Okay, friends, I hope that you have understood by now the demand of the UPSC personality test and the meaning of stand taking. You have to develop wisdom for taking stand. You need to develop a larger knowledge about different areas. You need to look at the broader perspective. You should be able to generate different viewpoints, develop new viewpoints, look at positives, negatives, think rationally, think in a practical and applied manner, think sensibly, think intellectually, and then give an answer. This is called stand taking. You please keep this mental map before you. Are you able to see the Indian map behind me? Similarly, have an imaginary mental map. Keep these in the mental map. Indian Constitution, the values of Indian Constitution. Keep these specific values: justice, rule of law, equality, welfare of people, national interest, taking care of vulnerable sections, thinking globally, acting locally, practicality, efficiency, rationality. This should be the overall mental map. If you keep this mental map, definitely you will take the correct stand for all questions. Okay, friends, let me explain stand taking with a simple example. Let's assume that the UPSC board is asking you this question. According to you, who is the best Prime Minister of India? Some students may pinpoint any particular Prime Minister. For example, they may say Mr. Nehru or Ms. Indira Gandhi or Mr. Modi, the current Prime Minister of India. They may think that they are giving an expert opinion, taking into account the achievements of the Prime Ministers, shortcomings and failures of the Prime Ministers, their specific ambitions, and so on. If you mention any particular Prime Minister for this question, then your answer is wrong. Then what is the correct answer? I have already explained this. Use wisdom. Use the wisdom to take a proper stand. Okay, now do this practically. You are already having knowledge. Now it is time to convert knowledge into wisdom. Understand the perspective of the question and then answer in the correct perspective. What words actually come out of your mouth, it doesn't matter. The perspective of the answer, showcasing the personality, is important. Now what is required? The different traits are required: broad-mindedness, pan-Indian thinking, neutrality, balanced thinking, integrity, honesty, truthfulness, leadership, positive mindset, rationality, and so on. Now use this to answer this question. Understand the perspective of the question. UPSC interview board always wants you to work in a neutral manner after getting selected till your retirement. This is the perspective. If you answer Mr. Modi or Nehru, definitely your answer is wrong. You are expected to be neutral. So what you should answer? You can probably answer in this manner. Madam, sir, all Prime Ministers of India, starting from Mr. Nehru to the present Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, have worked for the national interest of India. There is no doubt. The party may differ, the ideology may differ, their means may differ, but the end was always the same. The end was India's national interest. The end was welfare of the people. The end was taking India higher and greater in the international arena. All Prime Ministers did this. We should be definitely proud of all our Prime Ministers. This is the correct answer. Okay. If you feel that you are having more knowledge and if you are confident enough, and if the interview board expects more from you, you can continue talking. Otherwise, it is smart to stop by here. Okay. If you want, if you are confident enough and if the interview board expects more, you can keep talking. you can say that the former PM, Mr. Nehru, was seen as a pacifist. He was seen as someone who is very strong with ideology, but he was also practical. When it came to national interest, he did not refuse to use force to fight against foreign forces. He captured the state of Goa from foreign forces. Similarly, the former Prime Minister, Mr. Vajpayee, he was also very practical, overcoming the ideology of his party. He went for practical cooperation with the neighboring state, Pakistan. The present Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, is bold enough to take many unpopular decisions. These decisions have been taken in line with the values of Indian constitution and rule of law, even though they were unpopular. So you can talk more, right? So this is how you have to go for stand taking. Some questions may warrant an assertive answer. For example, assume that the UPSC board is asking this question. Do you think we can criminalize marital rape in future? Right now, marital rape is not decriminalized. What should be the view? Values of Indian constitution, equality, justice, empathizing with vulnerable sections, thinking in a rational manner, progressive manner, broad-mindedness, leadership. So with this, you should take a view. You should definitely support criminalizing marital rape in future. You should not support rapes done by husbands. Okay, you should definitely support something as long as it is progressive, as long as it is in tune with the values of Indian constitution. So criminalizing marital rape in future should be supported. It doesn't matter if the court have so far kept this under their purview. Some questions may warrant taking stand by taking both positives and negatives into account, that is pros and cons into account. For example, the board may ask whether you support the concept of one nation, one election. Don't pass any assertive view. Don't say that one nation, one election should be implemented at any cost. At the same time, don't oppose one nation, one election. One nation, one election concept has many positives. It has many benefits. At the same time, there are some challenges. There are some drawbacks also. You have to highlight both and take a balanced stand at the end. What are the benefits of one nation, one election? Reducing election expenditure, saving time for the politicians so that they can stay in governance mode and not in election campaign mode. The forces need not be requisitioned. The different apparatus of the state like police, army, civil servant, teachers and so on can continue with their service for the people and they need not be in election mode. These are some positives. I have highlighted few for your understanding. Keep it one side. Now go to the other side. There are some challenges. People need awareness about the system. There is a tendency for people to vote for the parties at the center. Regional parties may get marginalized. Studies have substantiated this. There is solid evidence for this. Apart from this, answer in a practical and applied manner. Talk from the bottom of your heart, freely before the board. Tell that India is the largest democracy in the world. Even though the current system may cost more, it may warrant more energy and effort. Democracy is also important. People need more time for thinking and deliberating on who they should choose as their representative in a democracy. So we have to create awareness among the people first, ensure a level playing field among all political parties, empower election commission accordingly. Then in future we can implement one nation, one election in future in India. This is the correct stand for this question. Okay friends, I hope you have now understood clearly and in depth the meaning of the concept of taking stand before the UPSC interview board. I wish you all the very best. Thank you.